Okay, it says we're streaming.
Yes, we're streaming. Hello, hello.
Hello.
We're on view and gallery. Perfect. All right. So we're here today for I think it's the fourth interview of our expert interview series. And we're here with Kelly. And Kelly is one of my teachers too. Kelly is a yoga teacher with years of experience in marketing, and you've got your own company, the Digital Yoga Academy, where you help other yoga teachers set up and establish their own business and specifically focus on selling courses. So I thought, since we're working with yoga teachers that do want to have their own business too and want to sell their courses and teach internationally, whether it's online or abroad, it would be very useful to know about how to actually set up your business. So we need to speak to you.
You do indeed.
Yes.
Thank you for having me, Annie. It's really a pleasure to be here with you and your community that you've been building.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us. It is a real honor, to be honest. Really honor. So could you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Who are you and where do you live? What do you do?
Well, I live in Bali, so I'm live from Bali right now. My background, as you said, my background is in marketing. So I worked in the marketing space, corporate marketing space, for a good 15 years. And during that time, yoga had become a big part of my life. And in 2015, I decided to do a teacher training to deepen my practice. Not initially to teach at all. That was not my intention. And, you know, like most people who do a training to deepen their practice, you soon realize that actually you want to share the practice of yoga with others. And it wasn't long after doing my training that I actually quit my job, and I had a transition. So I did some freelance work, some freelance marketing work. And whilst I started building up my own classes, and I never actually taught in a studio, I went straight into, you know, setting up my own brand and finding spaces, building my own classes and building my own community. And probably about 6 months into that, I gave up the freelance work and went straight into just being a yoga business owner. So the company I started then was called Good Yoga Life. It's still running, but I actually have a couple of other friends who actually are managing that company for me right now. But yeah, I had many years of, you know, incredible classes, events in London, retreats, notched up 25 retreats in about 5 years. And also within that time, I started Digital Yoga Academy. So 2017, I kind of got to work on setting up Digital Yoga Academy, which was an idea that I had when I was actually on my teacher training, and we had our like 1 hour marketing lesson, which wasn't really a marketing lesson. It was like what to put on your yoga flyer and things like this. And so I had this kind of like light bulb moment then. And yeah, a couple of years after, I decided that light bulb moment, that idea had never left me. So I was like, right, I need to do something with this now. And since then, I've been supporting other yoga teachers to grow their businesses, grow their communities, and specifically to teach online, and to create, you know, online courses, programs that go beyond just a Zoom class and really enable teachers to reach people all over the world, but actually make it into a sustainable and profitable yoga business, which, you know, as we know, if we stick to the studio model, or even if we just stick to our Zoom classes, it becomes a struggle, you know, to kind of pay your bills at the end of the month. So I'm all about that. I'm all about helping teachers to, you know, make that happen so that they can continue teaching yoga.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So you've actually always been an entrepreneur. You went straight into setting up your own business, even after your course, even if it wasn't the Digital Yoga Academy yet. You've always had it.
Yeah, I have always had it in me. It's quite funny. I was interviewed on a podcast, about a year or so ago, and the guy that was interviewing me also drew that out of me, because when I was about 11 years old, I actually had a car washing and gardening business. Just with the neighbours, but I'd go around every week with my little book and record whose garden I'd done and how much money I'd collected. So yeah, you could say it's in my bones.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So you said you help teachers focus on a business that's profitable or that's sustainable, that goes for longer periods of time, so beyond the classes on Zoom. Why do
Yeah.
you think this is more profitable?
I think, if you stick to, say, studio models, like if you go straight into, from your yoga teacher training, you go straight into teaching in a studio, which, let's be fair, most teachers do that, certainly before the pandemic, that was kind of like the main route in. If you look at what you're paid from a studio, like say in London, you're paid like anything between 20-30 pounds an hour. I believe like in New York and America and places in America, it can be like $20 an hour. So it's even less. If you stick to that model and you don't have like a transition like what I had, like leaving your main job, and if you don't have any kind of side income from something else, then you have to teach a lot of classes to actually make a decent amount of money. You end up having to teach like 20 classes a week, which leads to burnout. You don't end up having time for your own practice and everything else. So that's not sustainable, right? That is not sustainable for yoga teachers. And it's a story that I hear, or have heard so much over the years. And the same is true for the Zoom classes as well, because if you think about it, a lot of teachers, when the pandemic hit, went straight into like teaching on Zoom, and a lot of them were teaching for free, and then they would be like, oh well, I'm only going to charge £5 because everybody else has got Zoom classes and no one's going to pay for my Zoom classes and all of this. And really that comes from fear. It comes from not believing in not being 100% sold in what you have to offer and the value that you're providing, which is part of the entrepreneurial journey. Like that does happen, and it's like a limiting belief. It's fears that you have to work through. But again, that's not sustainable, is it? It's not sustainable. So I think, if you can really start to understand your community and the students that you're serving, then you have an opportunity to actually start to understand, like, what do people really need from me, and how can I create a program that goes deeper and offers even more value for people, especially right now, because people in the world need it right now. They need that extra support and guidance, but also allows you to charge a higher price so that you can continue doing this, because there has to be this two-way exchange. And that's really important, that you are able to make money so that you can keep doing this. If we can't make money as yoga teachers, then you're going to fall back, you're going to end up back in another job, and then where are the yoga teachers going to be? Where are the people that actually are needed right now?
Exactly. So you said when you know who you're serving or who you're teaching, I think you're referring to your niche. Could you tell us a little bit about this? Because a lot of people that are completely new to all of this, they hear the word all the time, but they might not actually know what it means.
Or they don't like the word.
Oh, they don't like the word, yeah.
Yeah, they don't like it. There's real resistance with this niching business. I mean, essentially, if you think, there's so many yoga students around the world, right? There's billions of people around the world. Many people who have never even discovered yoga, right? So actually it's untapped. If we think that, this is a space that is saturated, actually it's not. There's so many people yet to discover yoga, and we have to remember that as teachers. But if we think of all the students out there, people who are interested in yoga or have tried yoga, in order for us to get our message out there and for it to actually land in someone's ears, it's important that we start to narrow our message. We start to look at a smaller segment of all of those people out there, because if we come into it like, oh, yoga's for everyone, which of course it is, but if we think I want to promote yoga to everyone, then our message is wishy-washy, you know, it's so general, and each person out there has their own specific needs, their own specific needs and things that they want for their own life, you know, challenges that they're experiencing personally. And it's up to us as business owners to understand what that is and to really just start to define who we actually want to serve. And one of the best places to start is to really think about your own passions and to think about your own story, your own journey that you've been on and your life experience. How can that translate to actually helping other people? That's the best place to start if you're a bit clueless with it, and just let it evolve from there. You know, like if you think about if you've had any trauma or anything that you've been through yourself, which let's face it, most of us have, you know, like think about that and how has yoga really helped you on your journey, and start there. Like start thinking about where you were, you know, years ago before you went on this epic yoga journey, and that becomes your messaging. You know, that becomes what you can share now, because you can speak about that from the heart and with authenticity, and that's important. So that's really what, you know, finding a niche is all about. It's about getting really defined with what we're saying in our marketing communication, you know, rather than saying yoga makes you flexible, yoga makes you feel relaxed. You know, most of the world's yoga teachers are saying that right now. So if you are clued on to learning about business, then you're actually ahead of the game. You know, like there's a small percentage of teachers that are going down that route, you know, so you are ahead of the game. And it's just really about getting clarity on who you're serving and understanding the problems that you solve, right? And that's where your course can come in. You know, if you can create an offering that actually provides a solution to a problem, that's business, right? Business is about providing solutions to problems. Essentially, that's what it is. Marketing is about communicating the solution to the problem. And that's it. It's simple, really.
Well, yeah, simple. There's a lot to learn. There's so much more than I could ever have imagined. So could
There
you
is a lot to learn, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. So could you tell us a little bit about what you teach your students? What kind of business model do you teach your students inside your courses?
I mean, it starts with your ideal student. So it really starts, the foundation is like, who am I serving? What is their problem? And how can I provide a solution? It always starts there. And you know, Annie, from, you know, I do live trainings every single week, and every single live training I mention ideal students, your niche, understanding the problem, because that's what marketing is about. So really it's about visibility. Like once you understand who you're serving, then it's, you know, thinking about how can I show up online and be visible. That's super important. You know, we have to get over our fears of being on video. We have to understand that we have these incredible platforms at our fingertips, right? We've got these Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, all of these platforms, our website, to be able to be visible and to be online and to reach people. Having a website is important, you know, having a website, because we're fighting with algorithms in Facebook and Instagram, and really that's not your home as such. Whereas your website, you can brand it, you can really share so much about what you're about and who you help, and you can be discovered. You know, if you create blogs and you create content on your website, you're more likely to be showing up online when people are searching things. You know, when your ideal students are searching for information to help them with the problems that they're experiencing right now, whether it's, you know, they're going through menopause or they have extreme anxiety or whatever it is, you have an opportunity to show up in those results. You don't have a website, you don't have an opportunity to be there. And email marketing. You know, once someone lands on our website, we want to have a freebie that speaks to them, you know, that speaks to their problems and their desires, and gives us an opportunity to collect people's email addresses. That's super important, you know. Once we do that, once we can get them onto our email list, then We can nurture them with our content. Okay, so that's the fourth pillar, is the content part of this. And I mean, again, you know how important that is. You know, content is everything. I mean, there's a reason why they say content is king, you know, because it really is. And it's non-negotiable, right? It's a non-negotiable part of our week. We need to be understanding how we can support our students through our content that we're sharing on our website, that we're sharing on social media, specifically the topics that are important to the people that we want to serve. So I teach at a foundational level those kind of four key pillars: the visibility, the website, email marketing, and content. And beyond that, like once you've got those kind of building blocks in place, then you're in a better position to really start thinking about how you can, you know, move beyond the Zoom room, move beyond any kind of workshop or events or things that you've been exploring and experimenting with, and start to think how you can, you know, perhaps create a membership, or you can create an online course or program to guide your students in a deeper way. So that's really what it's about. But, you know, in terms of the business model itself, you know, it is an online business model, and really it's about building your community first, understanding what people need, doing the research, doing the validation, and then creating an online offering that really serves people.
Exactly. And you said you could maybe launch a membership or a course. Why do you think these two things are there's more to it, I think, but why these two things are well, more sustainable than doing it in person or at the studio or in a community center?
Yeah, sure. I mean, with a membership, you know, a monthly membership, it's income it's residual income, right? Month by month by month. So if you lock someone into your membership, I mean, I don't mean completely lock them in, but if they've come into your membership, they're wanting to stay with you for a number of months. So, you know, you might be charging, you know, 20, 30 pounds a month, whatever it is, depending on what you're offering, I guess.
Yeah.
But as long as you work to retain those students, you've got that income on a monthly basis. So it's a good option. It's a good option for teachers who are just kind of getting started with this, and maybe the whole idea of creating an online course feels like such a massive task that they could start with a membership. However, you know, an online course, I believe, is what we should be aiming for, really. You know, especially if you are doing the work to build your community. You know, you can create an online course, and in the Profitable Yoga Teacher, I mean, I encourage you guys to be creating something that's valuable enough for you to charge at least $500, right? At least $500. And as long as you are building your community, as long as you're doing that, you know, i.e. you're building your email list. I'm not talking about your follower numbers on Instagram. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your email list. When you come to actually launch your course, and you'll do some kind of like online challenge, you'll do something that's free, offering some kind of free offering that's going to really help you to build trust quickly and really nurture those relationships that you're building. 2% of the people on your email list will go on and enroll in your online course. So there is actually a calculation there, and inside the Profitable Yoga Teacher program, I give you that in a spreadsheet so you can play around with it with your numbers. And 2% is actually, you might not sound like a lot. It's conservative. Like you can go up to about 10%. It really depends on how you show up in your online challenge, in your kind of free launch activity. But that's the great thing about it, is that there's actually some formulas to this, you know, and it is across the board. It's not just about online yoga courses. That's actually online education across the board, which we know is booming. Like online education is exploding right now, and it's not going away. It really isn't going away. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So really it's up to us as business owners just to understand how we can grow our community, how we can move people through that process, but also really importantly, how we can retain our students so that they stay in our program until the end. That's probably one of the biggest challenges, I believe, that will become even more prominent over the next couple of years for online course creators, is how do we keep our students in the program, right, so that they succeed and so that they get to the end. Just move out of the way, I've got some sun issues going on now, because, you know, we want them to stay till the end, right? We want them to be there so that we can share their stories, so that they have an amazing experience and, you know, achieve what it is that they wanted to achieve coming into the program in the first place.
Why is it then challenging to have them finish it or have them to stay till the end?
Why is it a challenge? Because life is full of distractions, isn't it? Life is full of distractions. So, yeah, and I think as online education does get bigger and bigger, you know, there's more, there's going to be more courses vying for our attention. So I think, you know, for you, Annie, and I always say this, right, you guys that are in the profitable yoga teacher now, you are ahead of the curve. I really believe it's probably like 5% of teachers worldwide that are actually doing what you're doing right now, like creating online courses. I don't think that the number is bigger than that, because I think there's a lot of yoga teachers out there. Most of them are still stuck in Zoom, or they're doing the studio model. So as the industry grows, like as, you know, the online course industry, online education gets bigger and bigger, more teachers are going to get on board with it, right?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, it's really important that we're always thinking about how we retain our students anyway. And obviously we want them to stay with us, because if we can get them to the end of the program, they're more likely to come into our next program that we create. Yeah, because I think, you know, when you're just starting out, you're at the beginning of this process. And, you know, if I think about 4 years ago when I started Digital Yoga Academy, like the courses that I was running there are different to what I'm running now. So it evolves anyway. And you will get to a point where you can look at your students and be like, okay, this is the student that's just starting on this journey. And so she needs this. This is the course that she needs. And this is the student that's a bit further ahead, and this is the program that he needs. And then this is the student that's, you know, more advanced, and this is what they need. So we want to be able to move our students through that journey, that life cycle with us. So retention is really important. So we always need to be thinking about how can we support our students to stay, and accountability, providing that accountability along the way is really, really crucial.
Exactly. I see there's a few of you watching here on Facebook in the group and on the page. If you have any questions or you would like to know anything specifically, feel free to write it in the comments and we'll get back to them after. I've got a few more questions for you.
Yeah, go for it.
What are some common mistakes that you see among yoga business owners?
Okay, so not growing community, big mistake. You need that community in order to be able to validate, you know, especially this is for online course creators, for any of you that want to create online programs, you really do need to have a massive effort in building your community. And like one way to do that is to create partnerships. Like it's a really easy way to piggyback onto someone's community, and not having structure. Yeah, so structure actually comes from you need to have some goals to begin with. Like, what are your goals, and then what are the processes to actually get there? So, you know, structure, processes, systems, we need them. Like, we need to know what we're doing when we wake up in the morning and open our laptop. It's like, okay, what am I working on today? Yeah, we don't want to be wasting time. So spending time planning is really important, so that you know what you are what you're working on and how you're getting there. You know, it's no good just having a goal. Thinking that we can do all of this on our own, that's a big mistake. Shouldn't want to do it on our own. So I mentioned it already, but partnerships, right? Looking at how you can boost your reach working with other people, but also getting support when you need it, you know. So for you, you're supporting yoga teachers right now with their, you know, English speaking skills and so on. So for teachers in your community, recognizing where there's a gap and then finding a solution, finding a guide or a mentor like yourself to support them with, you know, support you with that, so that you can get yourself out there more and get over this hurdle that you're experiencing right now. So that's really important as well.
Yeah. I think that's one of the mistakes I made as well. I thought I could do the whole business thing by myself.
Yeah.
In 2 months,
Yeah.
and I was like, no, this is not gonna work. I need some support. And then
Yeah, and it's good, you know, and look how much you've grown. Like, look how
yeah,
much you've grown. We're having the support and accountability and a community around you. It's
absolutely.
so important. You know, none of us are immune from that. Like, I have coaches that I work with, and I'm in programs as well. It's really, I know that having done that, it accelerates my growth. So
Yeah.
like, I'm always going to be looking, right, who's the next coach that I can work with now to take me to the next level?
Oh, there's always more to learn, even if you've got that amount of experience.
There is, definitely.
So starting from scratch, we've got an idea of what we can do in the online space. What are maybe your 3 recommendations of where to start now? For those that are really, really just starting out.
Yeah, I think really just starting out, you have to start with yourself, right? You have to start with, like, what is my purpose? Why am I doing this? Like, why? Ask yourself some real questions, like, why have I become a yoga teacher? Like, what is it that's inside of me that's making me want to share this practice with people? Like, it's such a simple thing, but actually journaling on that, doing some real inner work on that, deep reflection, is going to help you to move on to the next step, right? Which is having that conversation with yourself, but again, reflection on who you want to serve. Like, who do I actually want to serve? Why do I want to serve them? You know, what am I passionate about sharing, and who is that person that I'm passionate about sharing with? So start with you, then start to think about the students that you want to impact. And then third step, I guess, is just to get yourself some marketing training. Like, because essentially you're not going to be able to grow. You can't grow your business unless you have those business skills. So, you know, those kind of pillars that I spoke about, start to look at how you can implement those pillars into your business, so that you've got that strong foundation, that root chakra of your business, like, fully embedded.
Absolutely.
Start there.
Great. And so the community we have is very international because they're all non-native English speakers. Why do you think it's so beneficial, or what do you think are the greatest benefits of being international and entrepreneuring internationally?
I mean, you know, we're all online now, aren't we? The world is online. So it's international all the way. It's like, it's global now. We're in a global, well, it has been for a long time, right? But now it's been opened up to us even more with what's been happening over the last year. Because if you were a teacher that was, you know, teaching in studios, you know, in London or wherever, like, that suddenly got taken away from us. So that forced a lot of teachers online. And the main thing is that if you come to it with an international mindset and a global mindset, then you're opening yourself up for reaching people internationally. Okay, you don't need to be limited to your local communities. You don't need to be limited to the studio or the number of mats that you can fit in a community hall. Suddenly the opportunities become limitless, because we really can use these platforms to our advantage to start sharing our message even wider. And it's really about just understanding how we do that, you know, working with people. You don't have to work with people in your local town. You can work with people who live on the opposite side of the world, you know. So everything kind of gets opened up to us. Like, it's the potential, you know, becomes huge. And so it's very fortunate. Like, I always say this, like, thank you to the Facebook gods, to the Instagram gods, you know, like, we now have all of this opportunity at our fingertips that just kind of opens up capacity for us in terms of the number of students that we can actually teach and impact.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I completely agree with that. And I think it's something that we underestimate. There's a lot of people that fear being online, and they think there's so much competition, there's so many other teachers out there. Why would they want to work with me?
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, we also underestimate how many teachers are actually doing this and do have the reach that they really want to, or do work with that specific group of people. I think the numbers are underestimated.
And also the fear, you know, this fear or this imposter syndrome, you know, we think everybody's doing this, and, you know, or we think like, oh, they're doing amazingly, I'm not doing like that. We really just have to get over ourselves, right? We have to, because there's people out there that actually need our support. And this is why you've been called as a yoga teacher. Like this is essentially why you're doing it. And if you do that step one and really connect to your purpose, then you're coming from a place of purpose at all times. Okay, so coming from that place helps you to get over those fears, because when your mind starts to chitter chatter, we can just go back to, actually, I'm serving here, right? I'm coming from a place of service.
Well, I think that's one of the things that you said. When did you start saying that? Maybe last year sometime. And for me, it was a big mind shift or change. Suddenly everything made sense. As soon as you said, what do you say?
Serving is selling. Serving is selling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Selling is serving. One of them. Selling is serving.
Or the other not.
Selling is serving.
All right. Let me check if there's any questions coming in. I see there's still a few of you. If there's any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments. If you can't think of them right now, because sometimes you go through the day and you think of what we spoke about, maybe they come later. So always feel free to send messages too. I don't see any.
Yeah, you can tag me and I can come into the group and answer any questions that come through.
Amazing. Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to share or recommend, comment on?
I just think, Annie, that you're doing incredible work, and I'm so proud of like the progress that you've made, you know, being in the Profitable Yoga Teacher Program and the Launch Accelerator, and, you know, all the teachers here that are in your community really should just be feeling very grateful to have you as a guide and a mentor, you know, because you are doing incredible work. And again, you're coming from a place of purpose. And I think you can really offer so much to your students, to the teachers here, and to help them to, I always say this, you know, I feel like you're in the same position as me. It's like really the bigger picture here is about sharing yoga, isn't it? It's really about how many people can be supported and have yoga as part of their lives. And by helping yoga teachers to be able to get that message out there, which is what I do and which is what you're essentially doing, you know, then more people are going to be impacted positively by yoga. So well done you. Well done you, and thank you for all that you're doing in the yoga space.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. It means a lot coming from you. And you, thank you for being here. What else have you got going on? Because you're on Instagram, you have got your Facebook.
Yeah, you can reach me on Instagram. We've got a new spanking new website, digitalyogaacademy.com. You can come and join our Facebook group as well. Lots happening.
And we've got a really nice quiz for you. So if you would like to know, what is it called? What type of yoga teacher are you?
Yeah, what type of yogapreneur are you?
Yogapreneur. So the link is in the description on the Facebook event and in the group. And it will be sent out with the email later on as well. So you can do the test, do the quiz.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much for having me in your group and sharing this with everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, lovely. Take care. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.